Hey guys, NJ here. So today we are very pleased to announce the release of a product that we have been working on furiously, and this has taken longer than it should have, to be honest with you, but it's just something we had to get right, of the Acroflow V2. And yes, I have a Neo. Don't worry, there will be lots of videos coming up on this talking about it and flight performance. Whole big thing to go into, but today let's stay on topic. Let's talk about these bumpers. Now there's a million bumpers out there, right? We know that there's tons on Amazon, there's tons on Etsy, there's tons on Thingiverse. You can go and print some pretty wacky designs, but why on earth did this matter, or why did we decide we were driven to work on a set of our own versions of these? When I say we, I do mean myself, Andy Kirby, and Chris from Fox 3D, very talented CAD designer. And let me tell you, Chris, I love you, dude. The amount of amount of changes and tweaks that I've made over these last few months of working on these, I'm surprised you're still even talking to me. But anyway, let me tell you a little bit about them. The reason we decided to make our own ones is because 95, I'll just say 100% of everything that I have bought, and I've bought lots of these, you know, this kind of thing off Amazon, off any of these places, they are all terrible. And I'm probably going to upset some people saying this, but bear with me for a second. When we're talking about flight performance of the Avata 2, we do know that this thing, specifically the Avata 2 for now, we'll talk about the Neo in a bit, but we do know this has limitations. I think this is a fantastic flying machine, and I did a video on power loops and generally talking about the kind of shortcomings of this and what's going on aerodynamically, and in terms of drag, and you know, I talk quite extensively about why you need to use best pilot practice and know where the limitations of this quad is in terms of your washout and that kind of stuff. As long as you're aware of those things, this really is a truly excellent machine. But the one thing that we don't have any control of is the ability to tune this. And when I say tune this, I'm talking about the PIDs, the proportional, the integral, and the derivative. If you've ever built a custom quad and you've used Betaflight, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you're in the DJI world, you don't, or maybe you do. If you don't, go and look it up. It's really interesting, but it's something that we really do need control of to get the best tune out of a quad, especially when it comes to changing the weight of it. For instance, something like this, right? Not only are all these notches that are clearly designed to help with protection and banging it around, just the weight of this thing. I mean, I could talk to you for an entire video just about why this is so terrible. But I think on the scales, this was 14 and a half, so yeah, 15 grams. So you're adding 30 grams of weight to a quad that, you know, has limitations when it comes to its cornering and inertia and avoiding your washout. You add 30 grams to that and a load of aerodynamic drag, from, you know, just the way this thing even wraps round. It ends up with this lip which is on the bottom part here and the top part that will just destroy the laminar airflow going into this. Like I said, I could just rant about this for a very long time, but this, you know, these kind of things are absolutely terrible in terms of them hurting the flight performance. And I wanted a guard because I'd already managed 2 or 3 times flying it naked, which was honestly the best way to fly it in terms of its performance. I already managed to ding it. And I will say, just sneakily, you won't see any, you know, if I took these off, you won't see any dings on it. And that's because those dings can be pulled out with a heat gun. If you apply heat to the area, it will actually, you know, Young's modulus and everything, it will actually find its form again and cool down, and everything will be all good. I didn't tell you that. I'm in no way suggesting you take a heat gun to your Avata 2, by the way. I'm just saying I did it. I'm the idiot, and it happened to work for me. And, you know, that's what I'm saying. But don't do it. If you get Care Refresh, go and just get them to deal with it. But anyway, rather than have to crack a heat gun out every time I dinged it up, I wanted some bumpers for this thing. But I wanted bumpers that were as passive as possible. Passive is the word. I want this thing to effectively not be there when I'm flying this. I don't want to feel these either in the weight of them on the sticks, which you absolutely can here, I didn't want that, and I also didn't want my limitations decreased in terms of cornering speeds, because suddenly, you know, there's masses more drag, or like I said, that weight has suddenly lowered those limits, and now it's not as much fun to fly all those usual maneuvers which are sort of on the edge of its performance level that I do. I suddenly can't do it. I don't want the compromises when it comes to flight performance. So that's why we decided, you know what, let's just make our own ones. And that's why the Acroflow was born for the, you know, initially for the Avata V2, but now also for the DJI Neo. And we were able to develop this one a lot faster because it shares a lot of the DNA in terms of the curves and profile. And yeah, so we were able to get this moving very, very quickly. But yeah, you'll see from here, these are very form-fitting. And even if I try and rotate these side on, you can see we are following very closely the form of the quad, of the actual profile of these guards. It was very, very important to me. No hard edges. It had to be perfectly rounded. And the actual way that this joins at the top, you can't actually feel the lip at all, and this is all part of not disturbing that induced airflow, so that things aren't separating, aren't getting draggy before they hit the props, because that hurts performance, it hurts efficiency, it will increase drag. All those things are our enemy. So to say I went through more than a few of these prototypes and this is why I'm constantly thanking Chris for his for me coming back to him constantly and saying, no, we need to tweak that by a couple of degrees, we need to change this. I really, you know, went in super hard on getting these exactly the way they needed to be, to feel like they just weren't there. And there's no other prop guards on the market that will feel like this, which is like not having them on at all. They're also incredibly light. We talked about this being 14 grams, 15 grams, right? 30 grams total. These are 2.3 grams per corner. Not only that, we've also got something else we designed in, because they were very thin. We wanted to have what's effectively like a crumple zone. So there's actually a small hollow section in there, which still has enough walls to be very stiff, but there's actually a slight cushion to these in the very towards this top part where it's the most bulbous. There's actually a cushion there. So there's this air compression cushion zone all the way around, which is sealed, so air compresses quite nicely. And I've really smacked this on more than a few occasions, and it's come off absolutely fine. And I've taken them off, I've checked has anything moved through, absolutely no dings at all on the quad. So it really is the best of all those worlds. We've managed to get great protection to a limit. You know, there's only so much you can do. If you're someone who really smashes this around, then maybe you want to go for something a little bit thicker. If flight characteristics aren't your priority, okay, go and, you know, get something else. In fact, saying that, we do have another version of this which is slightly thicker, which won't give you as great a performance as this. It won't be as passive, but it's still following all the rules that I wanted and Andy wanted, in terms of being as aerodynamic as possible. Still flies fantastically, but just has that extra cushion. And that's I think we're calling those the Dodgems. So those ones are also available on the site, but the kind of one that I really obsessed over here was this one, the Acroflow, because I wanted that flight performance of these not being there. So almost no weight added to it, which meant it didn't matter that we couldn't get to the PIDs, right? We can't, there's nothing we can do about it. DJI tune it and you just got to live with it. So the weight was a crucial thing. As I said, the aerodynamics also a crucial thing. These are, you know, all quadcopters are a big draggy mess. Just making sure you don't add to that drag is a really important thing. You know, I can't stress that enough. And you'll know the minute you put these on and fly it, if you've ever flown it naked for any length of time, you'll know exactly how great it feels. And now you've got the extra protection without the compromises, which was the whole point why we obsessed over this, to get it as good as we can. There'll be links in the description for this. As I said, we also have the Neo version, and yeah, just as I said with that, a lot of very similar DNA in terms of the profile, although they're not symmetrical like on the Avata 2, so there was some adjustments that Chris had to make. But yeah, really, really happy with that. There's a lot to talk about with this quad. It flies nothing like the Avata 2. I will do a separate video on this, right? If you're not subscribed, subscribe so that I can tell you more about this flight performance, and also, as I did with my previous videos, go into tuning it, because the tune is vastly different to the Avata 2. Something this light, it's very, very twitchy. So I'll give you a hint right now. You need to really change the center sensitivity to stop this being, and use a decent exponential curve to be able to make this feel bigger than it is. When it comes to FPV and rolls and loops, and it will do all that. I don't know why there are people saying, oh, this thing doesn't do it, or the mode's assisted. No, it's not. It's not assisted. It's a full manual mode. Make sure you do all the usual things in the goggles. Turn off the angle limit. You know, you've got a couple of check switches to make sure you can get full manual out of it. But yeah, it flies okay. You know, it's not really an FPV acro machine, but you can do the acro. There's more piloting involved. You know, I did try and see if you could do those nice big slow rolls, and you can, but as I said, there's a little more to do with the sticks in order to make those look nice and clean. I've only had a couple of flights with this, actually. We've been really tied down by horrific weather in the UK, but it's going to be improving this week, so expect more content on this where I can talk a little bit more about the tune, the flight characteristics. But it's a Swiss Army knife, and £169. I mean, DJI are making a statement there. They really are. And if, you know, you've already got the Avata 2 like me, I'm sure many of you have, the fact you got the goggles and the RC3 remote, I mean, it's just a no-brainer. But, you know, the follow modes are great. I expect to see some great updates coming out. Hopefully, I would like a 2K60, please, DJI. If by any chance you saw this video, if you can squeeze 2K60 FPS out of this, I'd be really happy, because the 1080p 60, yeah, it's annoying. And 4K 30 for Acro is just, you know, even with a decent ND filter on, it's not wonderful. But like I said, Swiss Army knife, for a very, very affordable price. So yeah, I'll be talking more about this, but for now, please, links are in the description to go over to Fox3D's website. We only have so many of these because these are, you know, produced by Chris, and he has so many sets printed up. So be quick if you want to set for either the Neo or you want to set for the Avata 2. Please also remember, as I said, with the Avata 2, we do have the slightly thicker versions of these. But as I said, if flight is your number one, if the flight feeling is your number one objective, the Acroflow are the ones to get. We put our heart and soul into them, and I'm putting my name to it, and that means something. So I hope you all enjoyed that, and I will see you all very soon with more on this guy.